What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Draft Day Dynasties. If you missed last week's episode, we launched our coaching career with Hawaii in Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022, which came out a couple weeks ago and actually received a glowing review from the folks over at Operation Sports today. So check that out if you haven't already read that review. Maybe check it out after this stream. Brief shout out to this channel, which you guys helped cross the 500 follower threshold after last week's stream. If you didn't catch that episode, again, check that out either after this stream or if you're a big fan of sequential order, it's okay if you want to go ahead and check that out now and then watch this stream after. I also, before we start, I want to plug, as I always do, the Wolverine Studios forums and our new Discord channel, which is just shy of 150 members strong. So you can always find me or find us, the rest of the team there, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, here obviously, Instagram. You get the idea. So what we'll be doing in this stream, we're going to be breaking down recruiting. So we stopped just before the buy report stage. We already checked out our whole roster. We unfortunately had to let all of our coaches go. That wasn't the nicest thing that I've ever done in one of these games, but we're ready to start recruiting. We're ready to build a powerhouse on the island. So before we start that, I do want to apologize. Last week, I was not able to see any of your comments. I was campaigning for your thoughts while ignoring them entirely. So we'll try to do a little bit better job this time. If you're screaming into the void and I'm ignoring you, it's probably not personal, even if it may seem that way. So we'll get that going this time. And the audio, you may notice, it isn't the nicest audio this time. We had a little hiccup there. Again, we're making this from scratch here, so bear with us. We really appreciate you guys checking out the stream here. So let's go ahead and hop into this game here. Breeze, hello. I see you this time. I can actually see the chat. So, all right. So this is what this looks like with our Hawaii association here. If you guys remember, we checked out the roster last time, and I was absolutely thrilled to see the level of talent on this Hawaii team. I was not expecting to have 2 3.5-star guys followed by 4 3-star guys. For the way that I like to play, I like to have that kind of depth that I can cycle guys in, high defensive intensity, that sort of thing. So really stoked to see the level of talent on this team. We got the Willis brothers, which was another treat that I was not expecting. We have Amari Charity, who, look, it says 3.5 stars, 4.5-star potential. I have a feeling this dude could be an absolute star in Honolulu. And he's a freshman, so he's going to be around for us for a while here. So before you start recruiting any association, it's good to just keep in mind what your roster looks like and what you want it to look like over the next few years. So we look right here. We do have a few seniors. We have, Todd Willis is a senior. Waldman's a senior. Those are probably going to be starters for us, and a couple juniors here. So we have a little bit more time with these two, but we're going to have to start filling our small forward spot, our point guard spot, our center. I mean, he's a junior, and he's not a great junior at that. So we're going to keep that in mind when we recruit. It's a little bit different to me than some of the football games where needs like that is a major priority. If you don't have a starting right tackle, for example, you need one right away. You can't go without a starting right tackle. But in this game, I tend to just go best player available when I'm recruiting. So we'll get into that a little bit more as we fill out the board. But taking a look at the roster strengths here, and then don't forget to dip down into strategy and see what your guys are actually capable of running and what that might mean that we run in the future. So this is my first year with Hawaii. I'm not necessarily going to run what they're running forever, but if I want to win a few games in my first, second, third season and not get fired before then, I should probably think about running what these guys already know. So they already know the motion offense. That's great. Pretty much every player in this game is going to be somewhat capable and competent in a motion offense just based on the way that offense really emphasizes the strengths of the players in it. Flex requires a lot of good passers and a lot of good ball handlers. We have good passers. We do not have good ball handlers. So probably not going to be running the flex here in Hawaii. And then the Princeton, a personal favorite of mine. I'm glad these guys know how to run it. That is something that maybe we can cater our recruiting towards. Princeton really, you succeed in a Princeton offense if you have a good passing center. So maybe when we're looking for recruits and we're looking at big guys, keep an extra eye on that passing rating, which might not be something that you would do if you're running say the 5-out, right? You would want more of a shooting big guy, and we don't really care about that if we're doing a Princeton. So kind of wrap your head around what the team looks like. So that's what we're doing here. We know what our players can run. We know what we might want some of our recruits to be able to run coming in. If there's a recruit that knows the Princeton offense, especially a center, that would be awesome. And then we have these 3 seniors, so we know that we're going to be looking at 3 scholarships, maybe 4 if one of these guys down here doesn't quite do it for me by the end of this recruiting cycle. I'm not going to say that Randy Brown is short here in his time in Hawaii, but I'm not saying that he should, plan his fall plans with the rest of his teammates here. I think maybe Randy Brown's on the cut line here. So let's go ahead and just hop right into buy reports. We've already checked our emails. We're good there. Nobody's pounding on the door of our inbox. So we got $60,000 to work with at Hawaii. It's not bad. The number that's been thrown around, I kind of try to keep in mind too, is $40,000 when everything's said and done. It's nice to have around that $40,000 mark to actually recruit guys, especially for Hawaii. We're going to be paying out the nose trying to bring people across the Pacific for these campus visits and home visits. So we may want to save a little bit of extra money there. So I like to see what the AI suggests, and it gives me kind of an indication of whether they think anybody in the country is going to be interested in coming to Hawaii. Their expert opinion is that we should spend $5,000 on a basic report and nothing else. I think that's probably right. For those of you who have not played this game before, reports are crucial. I mean, they let you know who's interested in your school. They let you know if you're paying for premium, what other schools these players are interested in. If you do the premium, you even get a different rankings than the one that come standard in the game. Hawaii's not living that premium life yet. We're still going to be going with a basic West report here. But it's only $5,000. I think we can afford the hit. And so now we're on to the summer travel, but can't forget to check your emails. Again, I said the last time, it's not the sexiest thing in the world, but checking your emails will win you games. So, okay, summer travel is letting us know, hey, we got some camps to attend. Maybe let's start booking some tickets from Hawaii. That sounds good to me. And reports, yes, I am aware we are paying a measly penance for one report. Thank you, AD. So we go ahead and advance here. And camps. So camps are big for the evaluation process of recruiting. It shows you kind of a snapshot in time of just how good all these players are against each other right now. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It can reveal maybe there's a 2-star prospect that absolutely dominates at a national camp, and you go, okay, maybe this is somebody that's a diamond in the rough, not getting as much attention from these other schools that could make an impact at a school like Hawaii. But you also can't put too much emphasis on the camps because it is just one camp. It's one time to see how these players go against each other. You could have a guy, a 5-star guy, who would walk right onto campus, 5-star, ready to go big man on campus, who has a bad camp. So you can't just throw a player out because they don't perform well in this one snapshot, but it is informative. So let's see what the AI suggests here. They think that we should attend all of these regional camps. I get why they think that. We do have some money to burn, so I imagine they just think, hey, we might as well spend it while we have it. But I'm not so sure with Hawaii, considering that the report that we bought is only going to let us know who is interested in Hawaii from the West. So it doesn't really help us to attend these camps in Memphis and Houston if we don't even have those guys on our radar. The only info that you're going to get from these camps are going to be players who are on your watch list when the camp starts. So if I don't have a guy from Texas or from Arkansas or from North Carolina on my list, it's not going to do me any good to attend his camp. So let's go ahead and cross these off. Maybe we can save that extra $9,200 and, I don't know, throw a party for an international prospect or something. National camps, it's tempting. I do love the Georgia Superstar camp. I think it's a good bang for your buck. You get 200 players there, $4,600, but I'm just not sure we're going to be fishing in the waters that the Georgia Superstar camp is going to be populating their pool from. So let's just go with the West the Las Vegas Review, West Region, and see what we can get there. So when it comes to initializing the recruiting board, it's a lot. It's by far the most exciting, maybe daunting in a sense, especially if you're at a school like Hawaii and you're not quite sure what you're going to get. But it's the best. I mean, recruiting is the best part of this game. Anybody who's played this game, it's the best part, in my opinion, of any sports sim is recruiting in these games. I throw a shout out to the college football game as well, because the recruiting there is similarly engrossing in different ways. It's they approach scouting differently and contacting players, and it's great. It's thrilling, and so is this. So check your emails again, as you always should, and then let's just hop right into recruit players here. So I'm going to take a minute and provide a little bit of context for those of you who are newer to recruiting, but also to set the direction for our own off-season and let you guys know how I approach recruiting. So thank you. Hello, Coach. Welcome to the recruiting screen. I appreciate this. You can read this when you start yours. So there is a lot here. There's a lot to break down. There's a lot of different drop-down menus, a lot of ways to sort all of these recruits. And if you notice, among the top recruits, not a lot of them interested in the folks out in the Pacific. So that's not a super encouraging sign. There we go, Michael Lockwood. Appreciate you, Michael. Thank you for giving us a thought. So to start out, because there's a lot of recruits that we're going to want to filter through here, keep in mind we have 3 scholarships, so that's a decent number to fill, but it's not too many, and we don't have to use all of those scholarships right now, especially this year with how robust the transfer portal is. If we get done recruiting and we've only signed 2 guys to a letter of intent and we have that 1 scholarship left, that's a carrot that we can dangle during the transfer portal period and bring a guy in who can make a more immediate impact than our friend Mr. Lockwood might be able to. So keep that in mind. You don't have to use all the scholarships. You never did in the past either. I mean, sometimes having a floating roster spot is not the worst thing for the next pool if players aren't as interested in you as you thought they might be. But especially this year, scholarships in hand, not a bad thing. So so when you look at these star rankings, right now we're just looking at the West region. We can go ahead and go all regions. Let this thing fire up and load here. So you'll see their star ratings, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. Anybody who's ever watched college basketball or followed recruiting is very familiar with that. In this game, there will be exactly 25 players that are a 5-star. The next 100 will be 4 stars. The next 275 will be 3 stars. You get the idea. So it's a pretty strong delineation right there in terms of you see a 5-star prospect, you know he's a top 25 guy in the country. You also know he's probably not coming to Hawaii. Now, I've done this before. If you're in the Discord, you know I was sharing earlier today, I have had some success at small schools. I took a small school from Long Beach, and in my first off-season, I was able to net a top 15 recruiting class. Now, it's a little ambitious. I wouldn't go start your Long Beach franchise and expect to be pulling in top 15 classes every year, but it can happen if you press the right buttons with these prospects and if your school lines up with what they're interested in, right? If your prestige is low but the location is high, then you could actually manage to get a 4-star, a 5-star like I did with Long Beach. So hold on, let me hop into the chat here. I don't want to neglect my friend Bill Dozer, my rival from CBGM here. That's true. So he's saying I had $60,000. I could have spent a little more money, the gold report in the West region, and then gone to the camps, but I wouldn't have had that much money left to actually recruit for Hawaii. I did think about doing the gold report. I thought about whether that's worth spending here with Hawaii. My only problem is I'm not sure I'm going to get enough interest anyway, so I'm worried that spending how many thousands on that gold report is just going to tell me, hey, coach, just so you know, everybody in the West region doesn't want to play for you. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm glad I spent, $25,000 on that. So you're right. I might have been able to spend a little bit more on that report, but I think what I'm going to try to do here is just see who's tangentially interested in me, maybe who's not, and then just go knocking on their door and have a lot of money to spend, a lot of home visits, a lot of campus visits, maybe even try to recruit in areas that I think might be a little bit underrepresented in terms of aggressive recruiting interest, like international, maybe even Alaska here. We can get a 49th, 50th state vibe going on with our Hawaii run-through. So, but interesting point there from Bill. So let me hop in and show you guys how I like to order my initial recruiting board and how I like to fill it out. This isn't the right way per se. In fact, it very may well be the wrong way. The cool part about this game is you can really approach it in whatever way, and if the recruits come to your school, then hey, you're doing it right. So first way that I like to sort it is by interest. That's not a surprise here. Let's see who's actually interested in our school from any region across the country. All right, sweet. Welcome to Hawaii. All right, so what I tend to do, especially when it's a school like this and I know that I'm not going to be getting that much interest, is I'm just adding all these guys to the list. Every single welcome to the board. If you have ever expressed interest in playing for our school, I am expressing interest in you doing the same. I'll clean this up a bit if I need, go through and add some other guys to the board and maybe take some of these guys off. But look, this is going to be slim pickings for us. So I do like to add all these guys. Now, you may be looking at this and being like, well, are you actually going to recruit any of these one-star guys? The answer is probably no. But you never know how these guys might change. That's a cool thing throughout the summer, too, is some of these guys, early on, they start as a one-star player and they have a good camp. You watch some film, you realize, wait a second, is this guy actually secretly like a B- or maybe even a B+ if you're lucky, A-? If it's an A-, you probably just shouldn't trust your assistant coach. But, some of these guys might glow up a little bit, so it's nice to have them on the list and have contacted them from the beginning. So let me see. So we added all of these guys here. Random Task is saying, again, that I should have gone with the gold report. You are probably right. I am, for whatever reason, I'm averse to doing the gold reports with some of these smaller schools just because I feel like I can use that money to more aggressively target guys who wouldn't be interested in me. But you guys might be right. If I fall on my face here and don't get a good recruiting class in this one, the next summer I might have to be paying up for gold, especially if the school can provide me a little bit more money than they initially are. Look, I'm gonna prove it to them. We're gonna make some noise in the tournament, and they're gonna have to pay us some money. So, all right. So we filled it out with the interested recruits. Now, the next thing that I like to do here is just go by my home state. Now, that might seem obvious that people in Hawaii would be more interested in going to Hawaii, but it's not just about that. Some of these guys might not be interested in coming to Hawaii. So let's look at players who are in Hawaii and then come down to this drop-down that says not on lists, which is a great way of saying, all right, who is in the state but I've not already added to the board, not showing interest. And look at that. Ronnie Aloko, 6'9", center. He's not the most flashy passer in the world, but 2.6 blocks, 1.4 steals. Decent score, not the most impressive rebounder, but look, he's a 4-star guy. You should come to Hawaii. I told you guys when this stream started, nobody is leaving the island if we have anything to say about it. So, Ronnie, welcome to the family. Pete, Chris, Broderick Underwood. All right, here we go. Derek Rashad, Joe Tucker, Dan Fleming. So we're up to 41 guys on the list just from adding players who are interested and adding players in the state of Hawaii. That's a pretty full list. So let's flip over to, let's see, what do you guys think? Do we go straight to Alaska? Do we maybe go international here? I am curious to see. I know Alaska sounds a little silly, but there's no competition in Alaska. Nobody is beating me on location in Alaska. So, all right. Well, yeah. That's also why nobody is competing for the fertile recruiting grounds of Alaska. So maybe we don't do that. So let's go back to the West region, which is where we're primarily going to be doing our recruiting, mostly for financial reasons. See who's not on the list. And let's just sort by some stats here. So we talked about in the Princeton offense how important it is to have a good passing center. So let's see what passing centers we can get. Let's go power forward center only. I love that addition, or shouldn't say addition because it's not necessarily new this year, but love being able to sort by bigs and not just power forward or center. So sort by that, people who are not already on our lists, those who are in the West region, although we do have a little extra money. Yeah, let's stick with the West region for now. We can expand a little later. And let's see who the best passing big men are. All right, so everybody's capped at 2 assists. Not a lot of Jokic's in this year's recruiting class. So Marcus Floyd, 6'10", 271 out of California. He's a 3-star guy, decent GPA. Keep that in mind, by the way. If your school doesn't have, or rather has a high SAT requirement to get into your school, you're really going to want to keep an eye on GPA. Hawaii doesn't have a particularly stringent requirement there, obviously, because they hired me, low academics coach. So I don't think we have to worry too much about the GPA, but keep it in mind, especially if you're running one at, a more prestigious institution or really any school that's going to give you trouble there. You don't want to mess around with 2.2s, 2.1s, stuff like that, especially a 1.9. You don't want to be getting to the doorstep, the 11th hour of recruiting, and have a guy not be able to sign his letter of intent. So anyway, 2.9, feel good about Marcus. Scoring 13 points a game, rebounding all right. Looks like he's versatile on defense. Let's do it. Let's add Marcus. And then you look down here, William Smith. It's interesting, from Washington. Looks like he outpaces Marcus Floyd in pretty much every single stat. I mean, it's almost identical in points. Same on assists. He's a much better rebounder, better at getting steals. You know that's great for the 1-3-1. We will definitely be running a 1-3-1 at Hawaii and be pests. So we'll add William Smith here. And then let's see if any of these guys are worth it. I do like the high rebounding, and he's a JUCO. So Corey Carter, we might be able to sneak Corey Carter onto our board and see if we show him a little more attention than others. JUCOs can be kind of a nice way if you're a smaller school that's not needing to get these guys for all 4 years, but you just need instant impact. Or maybe even if you're a better school and you know that you're going to have these great freshmen coming in and you don't want to have to recruit a lesser player who's going to be there for 4 years. You want to free up scholarships right away and flip these players. JUCO can be a great option. And schools don't target JUCO sometimes as aggressively as they would high school players are going to get for 4 years. So Corey Carter, JUCO, my man. Let's see if you want to come to Hawaii. And then look at this. Double-double machine, high blocks, one of the better passers. 6'10" out of Washington, John Anderson. Not going to win the name game, but would love to see you on campus. And then none of these other guys are really sticking out too much. Maybe Clay Spitler? Apologies to Clay and his family. I don't mean to disrespect the Spitler family name, but see if we can add you. And then, gosh, look at Andre Brown. That dude's never seen a rebound in his life. All right. That's enough of these big guys. We got 4 spots left. Depending on what you prioritize, it can sometimes help to sort the entire board by a particular stat. So we already sorted by assists earlier. You know what? He's staring me right in the face. I'm not saying I recommend doing this, but I have had success sometimes taking a shot on a high-level prospect. I'm just being, you guys are going to roast me in the chat. That's fine. I know that Travis Hucks is not coming to Hawaii, but let's see if we can get him, at least on the phone. But we sort by assists, all these guys in the low 5s here. It's decent. We already have a lot of good passers at Hawaii. Not saying we don't want to continue to build that tradition, but I don't know if it's an urgent need here. And you can always, by the way, you don't have to fill this all out piecemeal. You can go back and look at your roster, as I will right now, to see, okay, what were the positions again that we needed? Who is potentially going to be leaving us? And so it's going to be point guard, small forward, and small forward. So that's a bummer. There's actually a more efficient way to do this, which sometimes you just have your own preferences on how you want the UI to look. But if you like the way that it's presented here, you can just go team needs and info. And you can see all of your positions laid out and who's a senior, who's not. So we know small forward, we got 2 juniors there and 2 seniors. So we should probably be targeting small forwards. So maybe let's just look at the best small forwards, maybe shooting guard, small forward, because the way that I'm going to play, those 2 are going to be somewhat interchangeable. And then let's see which of these guys available. Mike Jordan. Come on now. Mike Jordan's available in the recruiting pool? I mean, it feels like a little bit of a reincarnation situation. All right, add him. Again, you may say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you reaching out to these 4-star, 5-star guys? All I have to say to you, Long Beach. Done it before. See if we can do it again. So I like what Mike Jordan's bringing to the table here. 20-point score, that's ridiculous. And 3.5 steals. My first call, I think, is going to be to Mr. Mike Joria. Hopefully he doesn't mind if I call him Michael. I mean, I want to be informal, with him in some settings, but I do want to appreciate the name that his family gave to him. And then we're looking at two more guys here. So let's sort by steals. And in fact, I'm going to take off the positions here. I know that it's going to introduce a lot of point guards, and that's fine, but I want to see who can get steals. Oh, actually, not too many point guards here. So you can see right here, Julius Benton gets 3.7 steals, decent GPA. He's out of California. He's a two-star guy. He's a little undersized, but I am running a zone, so I feel comfortable with his ability on defense, especially with the high steals. And he's a decent passer for a shooting guard at least. So let's add Julius Benton. And then might as well add Gabe Cole, right? All right. So that's 50. I feel pretty good about that board. I'm not saying I feel good about getting any of these guys, but I feel pretty good about the way that the board looks at least. So that's important. None of you guys are roasting me in the chat yet too much, so that's good. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss anything here that I wanted to run through, but I think that that's probably good. So sorted by that, we sorted by interested, and then we sorted by state. We've been checking out the whole West region. I'm not super optimistic about anybody outside of the West region being too interested in us, considering that we're like a low 30s prestige here. Yeah, we're literally 30 on the dot. 28 conference. The entire conference is just Cal State this, Cal State that. So yeah, a lot of Californians and us bringing the Hawaiian flair. So nobody, considering what our prestige is, I think we should feel pretty comfortable just settling into the West region. And then maybe we throw a line out for international if things are getting a little hairy and nobody's interested in coming to us, because we did save that money on that famous gold report. But for now, I think we leave the board as is, and poor Alaska. I really wanted to recruit an Alaskan star, but it's been years since they made a 5-star out there in Alaska. So, all right, let's see how the board looks, and let's start reaching out to some of these guys. So call list and watch list, these are going to be mostly interchangeable for you throughout the year. Calls do cost money every single time you call a player each week, so it's $5 per player every week for each player that's on the call list. I think we have money to deal with the $5 cost for all these guys, so I'm not too worried about that. But sometimes if there's a player that you don't want to call, that he's not interested in you, but you just want to keep him in mind, that would be a good time to use the watch list different than call. But let's go ahead and sort call list only, sort by overall. Now, I know that Travis Hux is obviously a very interesting man atop our board, but I made a promise to Mike Jordan and his family that he would be the first one I called. So, or text rather. I mean, you know how the kids are these days. So maybe we'll shoot him a quick text. If you're new to this game and you're going, what do you mean text to recruit? What does that look like? When you text these players, it initiates, you can text to initiate contact with them, and especially for a player where the interest is none, the first thing you should be doing is calling these players and trying to get them, or again, texting, you know how they are, and trying to get these players, trying to get you on their radar to say, okay, Hawaii is a school that I should be considering, and I'm the head coach, so me reaching out to them is going to be more valuable to them than the assistant coach reaching out. So when you're calling every week on the call list, that's your assistant coach that's calling them. It's your assistant coach who's hosting them on campus visits. It's your assistant coach that's going and scouting them live. It's your assistant coach that's watching film. That's why it's so important to get a good assistant coach for recruiting who can make an impact in all of those areas. And remember, we did not have a good one when we started, and I went ahead and canned that guy because he was not going to be up to the standard of Hawaii basketball. So, but the head coach is supreme, and I'm the head coach, high recruiting rating. Let's see if Mike Jordan answers our call here. So, hey, Mike. How's it going? He says he's busy. Can I just a couple quick texts? Oh, look at that! Mike Jordan. Fine, what's up? All right. I panicked. I wasn't expecting him to say anything. Okay. I'd like to tell you about our school. He's a 4-star guy, so there probably is going to be playing time available to him, but it's only one of the things he's considering. So see what else he might be interested in. So this is a good way to learn about your recruit and learn what he actually cares about in the recruiting process, what makes him tick, what forms the foundation of the next school that he wants to go to. And that's going to be crucial for setting up home visits down the line. And we'll talk about home visits as we get closer, but everything that you do in recruiting should be building a basis with these players and learning about what they're interested in so that you can really nail the home visit. Someone asked, can you start a dynasty and not take a head coaching job and let a season play out and then apply for jobs to come open? You can. Yeah, you can start a dynasty and you can pick no school. You can let it all play out. You can see, who goes where and then do it that way. But from my experience, you don't gain a ton in doing that. If you don't want the little thing at the top to say 2021, you could just start it in 2022. Because these aren't real players, it's not like you're watching these players go, through a year maybe if, you're starting a pro game and you want it to be a year after reality. But one thing you could do if you wanted to start and simulate 5-10 years is just have a basis of stats to judge all these guys off of. So that's not something I've done before. It's actually kind of an interesting idea. Maybe we can do that for another stream, right? Start a coach and sim 20 years and then see how all the schools change and go from there. But you could do that, or you could take an assistant job, which is another way to go. You can take a first, second, third assistant job at one of these places and then spring for a head coaching job after you've built a little bit of cachet with your original school. So sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to get distracted from my text with Mike Jordan here, so I can't believe he's still on the phone. School location. Well, not much to say on that. Unfortunately, I was curious about that, but I'm just going to have to move on here. Team prestige. Okay, only one of the things he's considering, which means that Hawaii has a shot. What about education? Okay, again, only one of the things he's considering, so we definitely have a shot now. I'm going to risk asking him about school location as I really angered him last time. Oh, it's very important to him. Okay, so that means that if a California school comes knocking, he's probably going to do that. But, California's as close to Hawaii as any other state. I'm not sure if he sees it that way, but let's hop off the phone because I think there's other prospects that I'd rather spend some time on here, like Travis Hucks. So, point guard, really intimidating-looking man there. He's from Chino Hills, okay. Text that, sorry, coach, but I'm busy, maybe another time. Yeah, that's what happens more often when you text players who aren't interested, is they say, and I quote, lose my number, K, which I love the dev team for putting in just that incredibly disrespectful message from these players. So Travis is not interested in us. That's not great. Let's see if we can get our only other 4-star guy, Ronnie Aloko, from Hawaii. I feel really good about this, guys. I think he's going to answer the call. Sorry, coach, but I'm busy. Well, what about just a couple quick texts? Nice. All right. I'd like to tell you about our school. I'd like to tell you, have you heard that we're in Hawaii? Oh, it's very important to me. Big factor in Ronnie's decision. Well, Kamuela, let me look this up here. This isn't helpful to the actual stream, but yeah, I mean, it's just a quick ferry ride over to Honolulu. So, all right, school location, that's big for him. Do you care about team prestige? It's not a concern to you. Okay, we only have 15% left on the time to text these recruits, so maybe we try to initiate contact with someone else, like perhaps Gabe Cole, right? Our guy who has a bunch of steals out of California. Hey, Gabe, how's it going? Just a couple quick texts? No. All right, we're going to have to lose Gabe's number. We'll call him next week. And then, do we want to give a shot on Marcus Floyd? He was our 6'10 center out of California. Decent passer out of Fremont. All right, going to have to lose his number too. So, calling, or texting rather, it used to be calling, and I think you can actually still call him from a certain screen, but calling, texting players like that as the head coach is a really big way to initiate interest, and then once they're already interested in you, it's a great way to learn more about what it is that they are interested in and whether you actually have a shot to bring them to your program. So I'm going to go down the board here so we can watch film on 10 guys. The way that I like to do it, I don't like to watch film on these guys right away because obviously they're 5, 4, 3-star guys. They're probably good. I would probably say yes if they said yes. So let's just sort by players who are interested in us. And, wow, hey now, that includes Mike Jordan now too, but I already know Mike Jordan's good. His name is Mike Jordan. So let's go ahead and watch film on just the top 10 guys here. Maybe we'll do it on the top few, and then if we want to highlight anybody that has, kind of an interesting statistical layout here, but I'm not really seeing anybody that's catching my eye as like have to know if that player is good. So let's just go down the line. Let's trust these WSSN ratings here and hope that they're steering us in the right direction. All right, so we've watched all the film on everyone we can. Now we have to decide who we want to host. Hosting recruits, I would say it's one of the more important things you can do in recruiting. It's akin to, I don't want to say opening the door, because opening the door is calling them and doing what we did now, but really that's the first time that you're going to be able to really get a sense of whether that player is interested in you and showing that player what you have to offer. Again, as I mentioned before, though, these are conducted by your recruiting assistant. So if your recruiting assistant is not high in recruiting rating, guess what? All of these campus visits are going to go bad, which makes sense. If you have a schmuck leading these players around campus, they're going to walk away being like everybody there's a schmuck. So we have a good recruiting assistant, maybe a little bit to the detriment of his ability to do anything else. Stephen Penn here, he's a 64 in recruiting and a 21 here, 33 here. He is not the guy that I'm going to go to with 5 seconds left in the game and ask him to draw up a play. But fortunately, he's already recruited players who are ready for that moment. So I feel really good about my recruiting ability with him. If you go back to my actual recruiting rating, it's a 60. It's actually not even as good as my assistant. So I feel pretty decent that these visits are going to go well. Pesky, we're just in the first month. We're just initializing our recruiting pool here. We haven't even scheduled a visit for anybody here. So who do we want to come to Hawaii first? Well, I'll tell you what, if Mike Jordan is interested in Hawaii, I am interested in bringing Mike Jordan to the island. And he is not interested in coming. Makes sense. He's Mike Jordan. Look, we're going to have to handle this really carefully. This is a prized recruit. But Ronnie Aloco, and if you look here, by the way, when we wanted to go invite Mike Jordan, it's $750. Obviously, he's coming from California. Ronnie Aloco, it's only $125 to bring him onto campus. We'll pay for his ferry ticket to come over. We'll, pay for some food, pay for lodging. $125 goes a long way. So I imagine he's going to say yes. Local kid, yeah, look at that. Ronnie's ready to come in for a visit. Among the other interested guys, I think Michael Lockwood probably deserves a visit here. I know you can't really see who I'm clicking on him, but Michael Lockwood and then Victor Reeves, the only two-star guys who are interested in us from the beginning. So, Victor Reeves doesn't even want to come. Let's see, is Lockwood super? What's the deal with him? Why is he more interested? All right, well, he is, and then Victor Reeves is not interested, so we're going to have to find somebody else who wants to come for a home visit. It's up to you whether you want to invite people who have already demonstrated interest or whether you want to try to pitch somebody on the idea of Hawaii before they've even demonstrated that. Like I could say, hey, Travis, do you want to come to campus and check it out? And if it goes well, then great. But I think we can save that home visit for Travis and use it on somebody who's already demonstrated that they're interested in us. So let's go to interested recruits, and let's just take the next guy down here. That would be Julian Klein. He's a good scorer as a shooting guard. That works for us. Julian? Oh, all right. Well, Julian doesn't want to come here. All right, that's it. If all you guys are going to be pests about this, let's just bring another hometown guy. All right. Michael Borman's here, so we've used our film. Not able to scout live yet. We've already hosted all of our recruits. Time to advance to the next stage here. Yep, CB Point Guard says, most guys who have no interest are likely to come away from a campus visit with a negative comment, so I prefer to host guys with at least low interest. He's exactly right. You do want to try to initiate interest from those guys before they come because it does make it more likely that their campus visit is going to go well. If you have a ton of money to blow and you're, I don't know, maybe you're just spamming campus visits and you want to try to use that as a way to initiate, and maybe if you have a good recruiting assistant where you feel like that's going to go well, then great. Bring a guy in who you've never talked to on the phone. But PG is right. And PG, thank you for joining the stream here. It's preferable to host players on campus who actually, want to be on campus. So we've talked to Mike Jordan a little bit. He seems interested. That's good. We'll go back to the call list here so we can see everybody. Let's get on Travis Hux's case here. Travis says he has very little interest in coming to our school. Well, I got that impression from the text message he sent me. But, hey, Travis, it's been a week. Just want to see if you're interested. Nah, all right. Travis doesn't want to talk to me. You can continue to do this all summer long. I would say I do it, I don't know, if I feel like I have some time to burn, maybe 3-4 weeks. And that has worked for me before, where you just keep hounding a recruit and they say, all right, fine, what is it that you want? And then you find out, well, actually, they're interested in everything your school offers. So if the player's saying lose my number, it doesn't mean that you have to lose his number. That is not an edict that he is issuing you. Ronnie Oloco, though, out of Hawaii, I'm a little surprised that, oh, well, we did talk to you. What's going on here? A couple quick texts. Ronnie, what's going on? Oh, I know why. It's because you got to check your emails. And you got to see how the campus visit went with Ronnie Oloco. And it did not go well. That is a devastating blow. So if you see the phrase, quote, I didn't think the visit was worthwhile, guess what? The visit was not worthwhile. He thinks that we are schmucks. That is going to hurt our chances of getting this guy. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call it a death knell. You guys can weigh in on the chat here if you've had different experiences, if you've ever turned a player that had a bad campus visit into a commit. I feel pretty certain that I have done that before. I don't think it's impossible to turn a bad campus visit into a good recruitment, but it's certainly the deck is stacked against you if the campus visit doesn't go well, which is, again, why you want to have a good recruiting assistant who's going to be able to make a good first impression on those guys. So Michael Lockwood also wasn't worthwhile. Michael Borman also was not worthwhile. So that's tough. That's not what you like to see. National camps. So we can go ahead, because this says summer camp up here, we know that we don't necessarily have to fill out our recruiting board before we hit advance. So I'm going to hit advance on summer camp. And that will run the first camp. We didn't go to any national camps, if you remember. That's just, we felt like that wasn't going to be worth our while. And then always check your emails to see if anything is new. So national camps recap. Let's see if any of these guys ring a bell to us. Ed Hope, Nate Samuels, Erickson Austin, all these guys are from different regions than what we're recruiting. So we didn't really learn anything from the Indy camp. But we are going to learn a lot from the Las Vegas review. So let's go ahead and run that and see what we get. Yeah, so my settings right now, I'm on hard recruiting, which is probably why even Hawaii's Finest are telling us to scram. And then, yeah, Bill's saying you can live scout a guy to recover interest. That's a great point. We'll get into that in just a minute once we run this camp to see what these guys look like in the West region. So we had a lot of guys here. I'm not going to go through all of these cards. When I'm doing my own single player, what I like to do, because I'm a little bit neurotic that way, is I like to write down all of these players, go through, check how they did in the camp, write that down, sort it, and then I can see, all right, who's good now against each other. But really, you don't necessarily have to do that, especially because the camp is just a one-time snapshot of how good these guys are against each other. But I would recommend keeping this in mind, the players that you are checking out at these camps. And it's listed on their player card, too, how they did in the camp. But I like to know in the back of my head, all right, who were the top 5 campers, who were top 10 campers, so that I can put a little bit extra focus on them if I'm not already. So let's see, who did good at this camp? So we have Brian Wilkins, Andre Humphreys, Kevin Kraft, Rico Lopez, and Ike McKeever. I don't know about you guys. None of those names ring a bell. So that means that is not going to be insightful for our current recruiting list. But let me write down Brian Wilkins here, because he was the MVP of the camp. And let's see, so let me see all these guys here. Kevin Kraft, Rico Lopez, and Ike McKeever. Man, heck of a name. So we're going to go to recruiting. And I think these guys who I already did the home visit. Now, Ronnie, we're going to keep on Ronnie because it's a bad campus visit. Excuse me, it's a bad campus visit, but gosh, he's the #1 guy in Hawaii. I'm not ready to quit on that yet. Lockwood the visit didn't go well, but he's still interested, so that's encouraging. And same with Borman. So we'll keep these guys on here, but I do want to check to see what we are looking at with Brian Wilkins. So Brian Wilkins right here is a 4-star guy out of Arizona. And if you look right here, the grade is an A overall. We learned that from the camp. So, gosh, 9.3, 4 blocks a game. This is somebody we're going to have to figure out a way to get on our radar. So let's go to the call list. Let's just knock off the last guy here. Oh, my goodness. This dude has never blocked a shot in his life. I mean, we're talking all the way down 6th, 7th grade basketball. He's never blocked a shot. Sorry, that's not going to work for us. Never stolen the basketball. Goodness, I appreciate his morals, but drop the call list. Yeah, we're not in the running right now. Well, you're not in the running either. All right, so we're going to go back to full recruit list, and we're going to add Brian Wilkins. And we're going to see if Brian would have any interest in talking to us. And let's see, do we want to add any of these other guys? So is Kevin Kraft was one of them, 7 foot. From what we learned about his ratings, I mean, pretty decent player. Could be worth, maybe we'll just call. We can just text Kevin and see if he has any interest. Nah, all right. Kevin's not going to do it for us. And then you look down, further down the list, I think it was Rico Lopez was one of them. Yep, there's Rico Lopez out of Oregon. Decent. Great outside shooter, but really bad at defense. Not great at stealing. That's not necessarily the type of guy I'm trying to bring in. And then where's Ike McKeever? Where's my boy Ike? Ike McKeever. There he is. There's Ike McKeever. Oh, look at that. We are definitely going to be bringing in Ike. So let's go to our call list. Knock off another one of these sorry guys at the end. You've never passed the ball? Really? Come on, Brian. Goodness. Drop you here. Drop you here. All right, so we'll go back to the full recruit list here, and let's bring in Ike. I like Ike. Add call list, add watch list. So we'll go back to our call list here, and now we're in the evaluation period, and that means that we can scout live, which is super exciting. That's another way, as Bill mentioned earlier in the chat, scouting live is another way to generate interest and also to get a much more accurate picture of what these guys look like. And I'll tell you what, the first scouting visit we're making is to Mr. Mike Jordan. Because A+ overall, I mean, he's not shooting inside, but he doesn't need to. He's Mike Jordan. Can't handle the ball. That's okay. We don't handle the ball in Hawaii. That is not something that we prioritize. We do prioritize stealing and shooting and defense and athleticism. Look at this guy. Made in a lab for us. Okay, so we're going to scout him live. And I think it's time to host Mike. Oh. Mike still doesn't want to come in. Come on, Mike. All right, well, we visited him live. Let's see, who else do we want to visit live here? We should definitely, I'll leave Travis alone here. He's done enough. You guys are going to call me out on this, but I'm going to visit Ronnie live. This dude needs to know how important he is to the vision of the Hawaii Spartans. So he's there, and then Chris Baxter, 3-star guy, I think if he's interested in coming on a visit, and then we'll also scout him. This could be a big week for us and Chris Baxter. And then you want to look at the home visits. We already visited Michael Lockwood. Victor Reeves did not want to come. He still doesn't want to. But I think if we can, let's see, who's actually good on here now that we have ratings, because we've seen these guys in camp. So nothing from those guys. They didn't attend the camp, but Julian Klein's looking pretty solid. I think if we can get him out here. Nope. Jared Simmons. Nope. And this is what you'll run into when you're a small school. Nobody wants to visit. We're literally paying these players to come to Hawaii. I have no idea what their thought process is to reject an all-expenses-paid trip to Hawaii. But, I mean, got to do what you got to do, I guess. Yep, dude prefers Utah. Look, I like Utah too, but come on now. All right, well, I know Mark Davis. Mark Davis isn't great, but he can pass. he is interested in Hawaii, and that is one of the most attractive things about him as a recruit. So, Mark, I'm sure you checked out campus when you were a wee lad, but you're going to check it out again. And we just need one other player who is willing to take a chance on us. Is it Leon? It is Leon. All right, Leon. You're not very good, but you're good enough for Hawaii. So then the last thing we want to do in this week is film. We still have no idea how good Travis Hucks is because I guess he decided not to attend the Las Vegas review, but we're going to go ahead and watch a little film on him. And then this seems like a bit of a high rating on Mike Jordan, so I think that we should come back here and watch some more film. There's a lot of people who have the question in the forums that I've seen, does watching film more than once help? Does it actually do any good once you watch film the first time? The answer is yes. It's a resounding yes. The more you watch film, the more evaluations will be on that player in the system, right? To kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, there will be more evaluations to pair against each other, and it'll create more of a scouting average. So the more that you scout, the more accurate your scouting is going to be. And that's especially true if you're at a small school where you don't really trust your scouts, abilities to, your assistant's abilities to scout, which I do not. If you remember, the guy we hired is recruit. So the more you do that, the less volatility there's going to be, and you're going to be able to hone in on how good these recruits actually are. So let's take a look at Chris Baxter. Let's take a look at Lockwood again. I mean, I know we've already done it for some of these guys. Let's see Corey Carter for the first time. But it can't hurt. It literally cannot hurt. And you learn some fun facts when you're doing that. You'll learn, hey, this guy is really knowledgeable about this certain set, or this guy prefers to shoot or prefers to drive. So you'll learn things while watching film that you may not have known already. So let's just keep on with these guys who are interested in Hawaii. And then we'll do Leon Eldridge. Hopefully this visit goes well. So, all right, we've used all of these. That's the evaluation period. And we will advance a week. So we're coming up on about an hour now, so I think we will cut off this stream right here. We'll be in another evaluation period next week. You can check the dates and see, so it's July 11th right now. We'll have one more period of evaluation, and then it'll be a dead period, another evaluation, and then it gets real quiet for a bit, and that's the quiet before the storm. This is the storm. Home visits. Home visits change everything. Anyone who's played this game knows home visits are your bread and butter. That is where you seal the deal. That's where you come in as the coach. You sit at the table, you look the parents right in the eyes, and you tell them that Hawaii is winning a championship in the next 4 years if their players come. And that is what I'm going to do. So we'll stop here. Hopefully on the next one we'll be able to get through those home visits. And then on the next episode, perhaps we'll be able to play into the season there. So I really appreciate you guys checking out this stream. Again, joining us early on, these first two episodes of the Draft Day Dynasties. Let us know, as you guys have in the chat or in Discord or on the forums or on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Slack, wherever you can find us. Let us know what you think of these streams. Let us know anything that maybe you want me to do differently. I know a lot of you wanted me to buy a gold report. I own that. Maybe I should have, but we'll see how I do without it. And on Twitch specifically, feel free to subscribe. I mean, it means a lot for us. It helps support the company. If you have Amazon Prime, you do get a free sub just by linking it with your Twitch account. Not a Jersey Mike sub. That may be even better. But you get a free subscription if you link with Twitch account. So why not use it on us? Help support us. Help support the stream. Support me. Support the dev team. And if not, we just appreciate you guys watching this. So thank you for tuning in to this one. You can follow me on Twitter at CJacksonCowart. You can follow the company Wolverine Studios at Wolverine Studio. I thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you next time.